In this module, you will learn about different rulers of Delhi from the 12th century to the 15th century. Our capital, Delhi, has a long history. People have continuously inhabited Delhi since the 6th century. However, it did not become a major city until the early 12th century. During the 12th century, the Chauhans conquered the city of Delhi and transformed it into an important commercial center. In 1192, with the defeat of Prithviraj Chauhan, Delhi again changed hands. And now, for the first time, it came under Muslim rule, established by Muhammad Ghuri. In 1206, Ghuri appointed one of his generals, Qutubuddin Aibak, as the governor of Delhi. Thus was established the first Muslim dynasty in the Indian subcontinent at Delhi. It was called the Mamluk dynasty. From 1206 to 1526, Delhi was ruled by many rulers of different Muslim dynasties. They all preferred the title of Sultan, and so this period of history came to be known as the Delhi Sultanate. It started with the Mamluk dynasty and was followed by the Khilji, Tughlaq, Sayyid, and Lodhi dynasties. After Qutubuddin Aibak, his son-in-law Shamshuddin Iltutmish took over the throne of Delhi. Iltutmish passed on the reign of Delhi to his daughter Razia, as she was more capable than his sons. She was the only woman ruler from the Delhi Sultanate to rule Delhi. In 1266, after Razia, Balban, the chief advisor to Razia's brother, ruled Delhi. He was the last of the Mamluk rulers. After his death in 1287, Delhi went under the control of the Khilji dynasty. The first ruler from the Khilji dynasty was Jalaluddin Khilji. He was succeeded by Alauddin Khilji, an excellent administrator who influenced many rulers of the following generations. In 1316, the death of Alauddin Khilji brought the end of the Khilji dynasty. The Tughlaqs came next. Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq was the first emperor of the Tughlaq dynasty. He ruled over Delhi till 1325 AD and was succeeded by his son Muhammad bin Tughlaq. In 1351 AD, Muhammad bin Tughlaq died, and Firuz Shah Tughlaq became the next ruler. After his death, the Tughlaq dynasty became weak. In 1398, Timur from Central Asia attacked India so as to loot and plunder it. Delhi was in ruins after his attack. He appointed Khazir Khan as the governor of Multan and Sindh and left India. Later, Khazir Khan founded the Sayyid dynasty, which ruled over Delhi from 1414 to 1451 AD. After his death in 1421, the rule of the Sayyid dynasty was taken over by Mubarak Shah. After his death, the dynasty did not last long, and Bahlul Lodi, an Afghan noble, established the Lodhi dynasty in 1451. After him, his son Sikandar Lodhi took over the rule of Delhi and shifted his capital to Agra. He was succeeded by Ibrahim Lodhi in 1517, but was unable to gain the support of the Afghan nobles, who started fighting among themselves and began plotting against Ibrahim for power. Finally, Daulat Khan Lodhi, the governor of Punjab and uncle of Ibrahim, invited Babur to invade India. In 1526, Babur defeated Ibrahim Lodhi in the first battle of Panipat and founded the Mughal Empire in India. And so ended the rule of the Lodhi dynasty over Delhi. This also paved the way for the formation of the Mughal Empire in India. You have now reached the end of the module on the Sultans of Delhi. In this module, you learned that Delhi became the capital city after the establishment of the Delhi Sultanate in the 13th century. The Delhi Sultanate consisted of 5 dynasties, namely the Mamluk dynasty, the Khilji dynasty, the Tughlaq dynasty, the Sayyid dynasty, and the Lodhi dynasty.
The Delhi Sultanate. The earliest rulers of the Delhi Sultanate were the Mamluks. In 1206, Muhammad Ghori died and Qutbuddin Aibak declared himself the Sultan of Delhi. The period between 1206 AD and 1526 AD in Indian history is known as Delhi Sultanate. During this period of over 300 years, 5 dynasties ruled over Delhi. The Slave Dynasty. Qutbuddin Aibak laid the foundation for the Slave Dynasty. He ruled for 4 years. The construction of Qutb Minar was started by Qutbuddin but was completed by his son Iltutmish. An able and powerful administrator, Iltutmish established a vast kingdom by 1220 AD. Iltutmish became the Sultan after defeating Aram Shah, a son of Aibak. Iltutmish's sons were not capable of handling the kingdom. So he had announced that after his death, his daughter Razia Sultana would be the ruler. Razia ruled from 1236 to 1240 AD. Being a wise and capable ruler, she brought many reforms in the state. Being a woman, she had to face many difficulties. The officers under her resented taking orders from her. Dressed as a man, she led her army in the battlefields. This created displeasure in the male-dominated society. Some of her nobles plotted against her and she was killed in 1040 AD. This created utter confusion and chaos. In 1248 AD, Nasiruddin, the youngest son of Iltutmish, was crowned as king. A devout Muslim and a peace-loving man, he was a failure as a king. Administration was carried on by his general Balban. Balban was a strong-willed, powerful personality and a member of Chalisa or the 40, a group of Turkish nobles selected and trained by Iltutmish for his self-defense. After the death of Nasiruddin in AD 1266, Balban became the Sultan of Delhi. A strict disciplinarian, he recommended simple living. Balban died in 1287. His grandson was the last ruler of Slave Dynasty. He was murdered in 1290 and the throne went to Khilji Dynasty. The Khilji Dynasty, 1290 to 1320 AD. Among Khilji kings, the most ambitious was Alauddin Khilji. He had bigger dreams than Balban. Like Alexander, he wanted to conquer the world. He ascended the throne by killing his uncle and father-in-law. Apart from Gujarat and Malwa, he captured the famous Ranthambore and Chittor forts. He even sent a large army to the south under the command of Malik Kafur. Malik Kafur looted and collected very huge hauls of gold from different kingdoms. He attacked even Madurai. Thus, for a brief period, Alauddin Khilji's domain was as large as that of King Ashoka. Being an able administrator, he brought about many reforms. He kept administration and religion separate. He introduced price control and market control. Thus, everybody were able to get food items at low prices. Bribery was punishable. Soldiers received money as salaries. Land revenue was according to the size of the land. Alauddin was a lover of art and music. He encouraged and respected artists. Amir Khusro was a member in his court. Musical instruments, sitar and tabla, were invented by him. After him, there was an immense power struggle. In 1320 AD, the Tughlaq family took control of the Sultanate. The Tughlaq dynasty, 1320 to 1399 AD. The Tughlaqs also wished to possess an empire embracing the whole of India. Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq was the first Tughlaq king. He was succeeded by Muhammad Tughlaq. He was an able administrator, but his plan to shift his capital from Delhi to Devagiri, which he renamed as Daulatabad, failed. His another plan of having copper and brass coins also failed. Ibn Battuta, an Arab traveler, visited the Sultanate and has written extensively about the kingdom. Muhammad Tughlaq lost the support of his nobles and the ulema. Revolts broke out in Bengal, Warangal, Gujarat, Sindh, Awadh, Multan and Daulatabad. Firoz Shah Tughlaq succeeded Muhammad Tughlaq. He became very popular because he spent less on war and armies and more on building hospitals, educational institutions, bridges, canals, etc. for the welfare of the people. During his time, many Sanskrit works were translated to Arabic. Timur, a Mongol, invaded India. He had heard about the wealth of India. He marched to Delhi and defeated the Tughlaq rulers. Timur's deputy, Khizr Khan, settled in Delhi and declared himself as the Sultan of Delhi. He founded the Sayyid dynasty, which lasted for 37 years. This dynasty was usurped by the Lodhis, an Afghan tribe. The Lodhi dynasty, 1451 to 1526 AD. Sikandar Lodhi ruled over the region of Ganga Valley as far as western Bengal. He shifted the capital from Delhi to a new town which later came to be known as Agra. The most important ruler of the Lodhi dynasty was Ibrahim Lodhi, son of Sikandar Lodhi. However, his importance was not due to any welfare measures but due to his arrogance. He was a tyrant. His nobles and the people conspired with Babur, the king of Kabul, to overthrow and succeeded in 1526.
The Mughals. The Mughals were descendants of two great lineages of rulers. From their mother's side, they were descendants of Genghis Khan, and from their father's side, they were successors of Timur Lang. However, Mughals did not like to be called Mongols, as they were proud of their Timurid ancestry. Babur. Babur inherited the small Central Asian kingdom of Farghana at the young age of 11 years. Soon he was driven out by an Uzbek tribe of the region. His attempts for the conquest of Samarkand had failed. He soon conquered Kabul in 1504 CE. Babur was fascinated with India's wealth. When Daulat Khan Lodi invited him to India, he did not want to miss the opportunity of conquering India. He then invaded India and defeated Ibrahim Lodi at the Battle of Panipat in 1526 CE. After this, Babur occupied Delhi and made Agra his capital. This battle marked the beginning of Mughal Empire. Babur defeated the combined forces of Rana Sanga of Mewar and his allies at Khanwa in 1527. Later he conquered Gwalior, Dholpur and other places. He defeated the chief of Chanderi in 1528 and Afghan chiefs of Bengal and Bihar in 1529. In a short period of 4 years, Babur acquired territories from Indus to Bihar and from Himalayas to Gwalior. But before he could strengthen his hold over his conquest, he died in 1530. Though he was buried in Agra, his remains were later moved to Kabul as per his will. Babur was the most illustrious man of his age. He was educated in Persian and Arabic and wrote his autobiography Baburnama in Turkish, his mother tongue. We learn about the Mughals from a number of books written during this period. We have Jahangir's biography, Jahangirnama, written by his sister Gulbadan Begum. Many court historians like Abul Fazl, travelers like Frenchman Bernier, and Christian missionaries like Father Rodolphe have left behind very valuable accounts. Humayun. After the death of Babur, his son Humayun succeeded him and inherited a large empire. Humayun had a very turbulent life as a ruler. Initially, he struggled to maintain his kingdom as he fought with Sher Shah Suri of Bihar and Bahadur Shah of Gujarat. After he was defeated by Sher Shah at Chausa and Kannauj. He became a king without kingdom, wandering in Sindh, Rajasthan and Persia, looking for shelter and help. He made preparations to recover the lost territories in India by making Kabul his base. When he was at Amarkot in Sindh, his wife gave birth to their son Akbar. In 1555, he reoccupied Delhi and re-established his empire in India. Unfortunately, he did not live long after this. He died in 1556 due to an accidental fall from the stairs of his library building in Purana Killa in Delhi. Sher Shah, the ruler in eastern India who defeated Humayun twice in the battles of Chausa and Kannauj, was Sher Shah. After defeating Humayun, he became the Sultan of Delhi. He was the son of an Afghan Jagirdar from Jaunpur in Uttar Pradesh. His kingdom stretched from Jhelum to Brahmaputra and Himalayas to Narmada. In a short period of 5 years, Sher Shah improved the administration of his territories. He had a large standing army and continued the practice of branding horses. He respected the cultivators and ordered that his soldiers should not cause injury to standing crops when they marched. Babur and Humayun failed to consolidate their powers as they both ruled an empire that was only held together by force of arms and lacked a consolidated civil administration. But Sher Shah was an able administrator. He established a monarchical system of government. The kingdom was divided into provinces, which were further divided into a number of sarkars. They were further divided into parganas or districts, which were then divided into villages. A village was the lowest unit of administration. The parganas were under the Sheikhdar, who looked after the law and order, and Amil or Munshi was responsible for collection of revenue. He himself directly supervised the administration. He treated all equally and gave impartial justice. An efficient spy system kept him well informed of happenings in his empire. He was tolerant towards other religions. He built a number of roads. Prominent among them are the Grand Trunk Road connecting Lahore to Multan and Agra to Jodhpur. Land revenue was the major source of income for the king. Revenue was assessed on the basis of the fertility of land. The revenue to be paid was 1/3 of the produce, and it could be given either in cash or kind. Sher Shah took several measures for the welfare of the people. He built many sarais, which were safe rest houses where the merchants used to spend nights during their journeys from one place to another. This encouraged merchants to travel extensively, which in turn led to the growth of trade. Trade also got an impetus with the introduction of a new rupee coin called rupiah. Sher Shah's history was written by Abbas Khan in 1579 CE, which gives many details of his administration. As per his account, if a theft or robbery was committed, the Muqaddam had to produce the culprits or point out their places of hiding. It was done as it was believed that without the knowledge of headman, nothing could happen in a village. It greatly helped in the trade and commerce. His brilliant career was cut short in 1545 CE when he died of a gunpowder explosion while laying siege to the fort of Kalanjar in Bundelkhand.